Welcome back to CEO Money and Michael Yorba. We have Kate Delaney, Delaney Media Group. Kate is an Emmy award-winning journalist. She's interviewed more than 12,000 people, including presidents, top CEOs, and Hall of Fame athletes. Kate, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Michael, thanks for having me on.
All right, my pleasure. Kate, I get a little overview brief on you, but I wanted you to hit the highlights about who you are, and then let's get into your book, Women in Leadership, and then how to be buzzworthy.
Sounds terrific to me. So you set it up well when you said that I won an Emmy and I've interviewed thousands of people, and I've interviewed, rock stars from the world of sports, rock stars from the world of business. And it's so interesting because I was giving a speech the other day and somebody asked me in the audience, well, what do those people have in common? And what they have in common is that incredible zest for winning, for being focused, for having one pointed intention and clear goals, I think, of where they want to be and not limiting themselves. They also toss aside self-limiting beliefs. So the most successful people that I've interviewed, whether they're those well-known athletes or they're those entrepreneurs that have made it and really expanded their influence, that's what they have in common. Just passionate go-getters who dive wholeheartedly into everything they do. And that's what I've always been attracted to. I've been attracted to those people. I've been, I think, attracted to the business that I'm in, whether it's media and PR, where I'm working on that and getting that buzzworthiness for somebody, or whether I'm in the media myself behind a microphone or on a big stage. That pretty much sums it up.
Now, talk to us about your book, Deal Your Own Destiny, which is coming out through Forbes, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because Forbes approached me and said they wanted to hear my story about how I shattered the glass ceiling, rather. And I was rejected 500 times when I wanted to be in sports media. And then finally I got my break. And they wanted to know about the tenacity it took, and they wanted to know what my influences were. And my influences are exactly what I just told you. The people that I met, the people that I interviewed, the business books that I read that fueled me on. And Deal Your Own Destiny is about that. It's about my story married to interviews with Richard Branson that I did, and the CEO of, for example, Nutrisystem, Dawn Zier, and just a plethora of really, really, really successful people, and how they were able to take what they were doing to another level, and how I was able to, along the way, glean some of those great tips that kept me on the path to dealing my own destiny instead of doing what everybody, Michael, wanted me to do, which was go to law school or to do something else because they thought that was a safer path.
In your book, you mentioned Branson. Walk through some of the common threads, aside from, we all know the super alpha type, the high passion, high drive, focused intent. But there's got to be more to being a success than just having passion for your dream. So,
absolutely.
You bring that out in your book, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The book is a deep dive, not a not just glossing over what it took to get there. And Branson's a great example. So he was the anomaly, and he knew it, but it didn't matter. He was always looking for the different idea, the different twist. How can we implement it? And he says this over and over again. It's fail, 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 fail until it finally works, or some other road takes you in the right direction. And a lot of what I heard from a lot of the people that I've interviewed over the years that I keep going back to is exactly that. And they're hardcore, not even tips, hardcore, I think, actionable content that you can take away and actually apply to your business, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are working in a C-suite capacity, let's say, for example, for a big company. And again, part of what I also heard from, I'll say Branson, and some of the other people that I interviewed, is that you have to keep learning. You have to keep striving to fill up that void of knowledge, what you don't know that could help you technology-wise, that could help you understand the direction your business is going in, whatever it is, just gaining as much knowledge as possible through various means, including mentors and being part of a mastermind. That was a lot of the heavy conversation I had with people. Who are your influencers? Who are the top 5 people that you're hanging out with that have influence over your business and your life, the biggest and brightest?
All right, Kate, before we change gears into women in leadership, tell the world how to get their hands on your book.
Okay, so Deal Your Own Destiny will be out by Forbes. Forbes is, again, the publisher of the book, in March, and it'll be in bookstores everywhere. Look for it in the airport, any place you can imagine, and Amazon, of course, and at ForbesBooks.com, they'll have it as well.
Great. All right. What about women in leadership? The numbers are changing in the C-suite. Talk to us about women on paid boards. The litany of question goes on and on. You know where I'm going with this.
Sure. I've done a lot of research on women in leadership, and what's interesting is people talk about women in leadership as if it's just so easy to fill that. Oh, the company's working on. Pepsi is dumping something like $118 million into these new women's initiatives because they want to be the leader in diversity practices. So they're trying to figure out how can they do that? How can they help women and girls all over the place achieve this success? And they're not the only company. I think there are other companies that are doing the same thing where they're trying to get on that track. How do we put women on that track? And I think it's the Wild West, Michael. It's so wide open that, yes, there's some great leadership development programs, and certainly there are some fabulous role models, Sheryl Sandberg being one of them. A lot of people point to her and what she's been able to do with Facebook, but it still is a wide open plane. And to me, there's the void, trying to fill the void and figuring out how to do that with the right people. And women on paid boards, for example, as I said, I did a lot of research on that, and I did maybe 5 months ago, I was part of a Women's Energy Network. I was one of their keynote speakers. One of the things that I did is I did a keynote first and talked about is there a glass ceiling? What's that about? How do you crash the glass ceiling? And then I had a panel that I moderated, and it was with people that were on paid boards, that were influencers, that talked openly about why aren't there more women. And part of what they suggested is a lot of women didn't know how to get their way onto the paid boards and didn't realize that while there's a fiduciary responsibility on a paid board and they would memorize all this governance and would figure out all of that, when ultimately it comes down to this, Michael, do you and I, we have the chops, but do we fit together? Do we want to hang out together? Do we want to be responsible for where a company's going, and we're going to end up spending time together? Does this mesh? And a lot of times they're looking for that chemistry element as well, not just the skins on the wall.
I agree. What do you think are some of the real remaining boundaries or that keep women from being more pervasive in the C-suite arena? Because you hear it about it, but then nobody ever opens that board. We got to take a break in about a minute. We can pick this up on the other side of the break, but I want to start that one off.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, and I'll just say a few of them quickly. One of them I mentioned is that if you have a board that is predominantly all men, one of their concerns is they've gotten to know each other better. They're friendly. They understand how they work. They understand what the conversation is like when they have to make some hard decisions. Because as I said, they have a fiduciary responsibility. This is a paid board for a big company, company XYZ. So this isn't an advisory deal. This isn't a giant board where people are in or out of it. You really, again, have to do your homework, but also have to understand how the collaborative effort works, and you have to fit into that equation. Doesn't mean you can't be adversarial or you couldn't question or be there for this incredible business acumen you have, but you have to know how to be able to mesh together. And if you can't do that, then you become an anomaly as a woman they don't want on that board.
Let's take a break, Kate, and then come back on the other side. I want to finish this conversation and then start off on your PR company, all right?
Terrific.
All right, Kate Delaney, Delaney Media Group. We'll be back on the other side of this break. The segment has been brought to you by Lots of Yachts. Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for listening. All right, we're talking with Kate Delaney, Delaney Media Group, Emmy Award-winning journalist. Kate, I've got a co-host here in the studio, Ed Baxter, and he works with me on a number of topics, but we were talking a lot about women in leadership. And in light of the Harvey Weinstein thing that's blown up and the domino effect that's hit a lot of other people, it's kind of created a thickening of the glass ceiling, using Ed's words. And he's got a couple of questions for you that, you would be the perfect person to be able to respond to some of these questions of what's going on the dynamics now at the C-suite between men and women, and how to work with that so that we still have women in leadership, but yet we're not these negative events isn't undermining the path higher for women, right, Ed?
I would agree. I think it's definitely something that people are thinking about for the most part, and men are definitely thinking about it. And I think your voice is one that probably needs to be heard on this particular issue. It doesn't necessarily have to be that granular, but I think I guess the question would be, what advice would you give women seeking the C-suite and looking to manage this issue?
Yeah, it's such a tricky thing to navigate. For me, it's a great question because I'm in the world where in being in radio and having a show on NBC Sports that's syndicated, and so many people in my life professionally, my mentors, et cetera, have been men. So I'm rated on men. I speak to a lot of men's groups, CEOs, et cetera, and I really, really get along well with men. And I feel that there's this weird disconnect that you have to be really careful about. And I think, again, it goes to that, what are you comfortable with, and what are the boundaries, and how do you navigate that boundary so that it isn't detrimental for the company, it isn't detrimental for the women that come on to a board. I think you have to really vet the situation, both the woman trying to get to the C-suite. Let's say it's not a paid board. Let's say it's the C-suite. The women that are rising through the ranks have to realize the situation that they're getting into, and it has to be one that they're awesome at, that they are as qualified as the man is. I think it should be a level playing field. If you have the goods and you can deliver it, and as I like to say, there's a return on the investment, then you should be there. But it is certainly a trickier thing in trying to run the gamut and to start from wherever you start and find yourself in that position. I'll give you a great example. I mentioned her earlier. Dawn Zier is the CEO of Nutrisystem, and every quarter they just seem to get more and more profit. She's done a fabulous job of changing that culture and turning around some of what was going on at Nutrisystem. In fact, they just strategically partnered with the South Beach Diet, and they're going to start delivering on their systems, delivering food. The point being, she's growing the company, she's growing the culture, she's growing the company. She's a perfect fit. And that goes back, Ed, to what I said initially again. It's about the fit. It's not about just throwing women in those situations, because that's disastrous. It's getting the right women. And if you're specifically targeting a woman to balance it out, you've got to find the right one.
Okay. We got about 2 minutes left, and I wanted to spend some time, and thank you for answering that, by the way, but I'll spend some time on your PR company. How do you become buzzworthy today?
I think to become buzzworthy, you have to, I know, you have to become an expert, a sought-after expert. And when I say that, whatever it is that is your lane, Michael, you have to know it cold. You have to be the one that everybody wants to talk to about whatever it is, and you have to leverage your content. It's about content creation, the uniqueness, getting it out there on all platforms, old school media, new school media, and clever ways to put it out there.
Okay, let's get into the leverage thing, because it's to say that is one thing, and actually to deliver it, the how-to. And we got, like I said, about 2 minutes left, so I want to give you more time to open up on that.
Sure. So how do you do it?
Yeah.
For example, I've worked with a lot of groups in becoming Buzzworthy. My company has. Dunamis put on a big track event in Frisco at the Cowboys facility, and we did that. So we got coverage television-wise, and then we took what we had there as they were building the track and started to gain the momentum through tweets, through putting it out there on LinkedIn, et cetera, and people were buying into, wow, this track is going to be the biggest track, and this is interesting, and what's happening out there, and then leveraging the coverage that we got through the media and the Dallas Morning News and in Fort Worth and on the television stations and the radio stations, and pumped that content out there as well. And it really generated a lot of interest, and it became much more buzzworthy in that situation, because you want that ROI. You want to attract more people. And the way you do that is, again, taking the different chunks of content and spreading it out there in blogs. Article writing is big. And social media and video, and leveraging video. Not enough people do that. Instagram is the perfect platform for that.
Got it. All right, we're about out of time. Contact information for our audience to reach out to you for furthering of the conversation we've had today, Kate.
Sure. Kate Delaney at ForbesBooks.com is probably the best. Kate Delaney at ForbesBooks.com.
Great. Kate, you've been a great guest. Thanks for being a guest on our show.
Anytime. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. Kate Delaney, Delaney Media Group.